Wednesday, November 10th, and we are going to go ahead and get started with class. So the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to do your daily dose number 3. So we're going to go through this together. I know that normally you guys have the 3 minutes to do it, but obviously I'm not there to time you. So we're just going to go through and talk about the things that are changed and why they're changed. So we'll start with our word of the day, which is grimace. It is a noun. It is a facial expression usually indicating a negative reaction to something. So think of grim face. Imagine a little boy with a grim face. No one wants to be his friend because he always has a grimace. So he is always kind of like just frowning and he doesn't look like he's enjoying himself. So that's what a grimace is. Our sentence today is Pitbull Bizzle lived in New York, New York. He was a serious dog who always had a grimace on his face. So the first thing that I'm going to change here is my Pitbull Bizzle. Remember yesterday when we fixed Hound Dog Hank, we capitalized the D in dog and the H in Hank. So today we're going to start with Pit. We capitalize it not just because it's the beginning of the sentence, but also because it's the beginning of his name. And then we're going to capitalize Bull and Bizzle. So Pitbull Bizzle lived in New York, New York. So New York is the name of the city. So it is a proper noun and it has to be capitalized. And then New York is the name of the state and it also has to be capitalized. When you have a city and you have a state, as you guys are going to see when we're doing our comma work today, you do have to put a comma in between. So I'm going to go ahead and put my comma there in between. And this is really the end of the sentence, so you need to put a period here. Our next sentence is he was a serious dog who always had a grimace on his face. Obviously, we put a period here, which means that this is the start of my new sentence, and it needs to be capitalized. And then the last thing we have to do is just add this period. We don't have to do anything else to fix the second sentence. Now we're going to move on to our standard review. Which of the following is an example of an internal conflict? Remember, internal conflicts, we only have one of them. The only internal conflict that we have is going to be character versus character. So we have a girl struggles with her best friend for the privilege of being first in line. That is going, I'm sorry, this is character versus self, not character. I'm sure that you guys were all correcting me on the other side of the screen. So this first one is character versus character. And remember, we're looking for this internal conflict, so it's not going to be that one. A boy struggles to come to the right decision. This could be character versus self because he's having to make a decision. So I'm just going to put a little check mark here because he's coming up with something in his mind, and that one seems like it will be the right answer, but let's check the rest. A man struggles to save his family home from a fire. This one is going to be character versus nature. So it's not going to be that one. A woman struggles to drive her car in a downpour of rain. This one is also going to be character versus nature. Even though it might seem like character versus technology because of the car, but really it's this idea of the rain. So we're going to mark that one out. So we were correct the first time when we said B. A boy struggles to come to the right decision. That is a character versus self conflict. So go ahead, if you need to pause and double check all of your answers, you can do that, but make sure that you have this done. All right, so the next thing that we are going to do is we are going to look here at this doodle and do comma rules that you should have gotten from the substitute. So this is a pretty big packet, and all of these things on the side, of course, you guys can color them. So let me just zoom mine out a little bit so you can see everything. All right. So remember, everything that we do in class, you guys need to make sure that you put your name and class period on there and the date. So we are starting this on 11/10/2021. And then you'll just put your core number. Obviously, I have all 4 cores. So we'll go ahead and get started. This is a page that we're going to add to every time we do these comma rules. And there are 10 total, so we're going to do 10 today and then 10 tomorrow. So we need to make sure that we are paying attention and that we get these done because we want to be able to move on tomorrow with our work. So the first thing that we are looking at is we are going to talk about using commas with dates. So go ahead and fill in that with dates section. The next is going to be use commas with cities and states / countries. I'm sure all of this is sounding extremely familiar to you guys. The third one that we're going to do today is using commas with addresses. And then use commas when speaking directly to someone. This is also called a direct address. And then the final one that we're going to do today is when you use commas in lists. Now, like I said, these might seem very familiar to you, but we're just going to take the time, go over the rules, and then we are going to practice with them. And you guys are going to do that individually. So the first thing that oops, that's a little crooked. The first thing that we are going to do is we are going to talk about when you use commas with dates. So go ahead and write dates right here at the very top. So you're always going to place a comma between the day of the week and month. You are always going to use a comma between the date and the year. You are always going to place a comma after the year if the date is in the beginning. That's a big word to fit in a small space, or middle of a sentence. So an example is Apollo 2 was launched on Wednesday, July 16th, 1969. On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon. So here we've got this comma here because it's at the beginning of the sentence, but we didn't put a comma here because it's at the end of the sentence. Let me zoom in again so that you guys can see. I was just trying to get the whole picture. All right. So in our doodle, you're going to add commas to the sentence below. On June 11th, 1948, a monkey named Albert the First became the first monkey launched into space. Now doodle the event on the calendar. So you guys will doodle the event over here, but we're going to put the commas in here. So I'm always going to put it between the day and the year. And then because this is at the beginning of the sentence, I'm also going to put a comma here after 1948. So make sure that you guys have those commas And then you can draw your monkey in space over here. Now we're getting to our first do section. So I'm going to do the first one with you, and then you guys are going to do the rest on your own. So our first sentence is the first artificial satellite, Sputnik the First, was launched by the Soviet Union on October 4th, 1957. I only have to add one comma to the sentence because I'm going to go back up here and look at my rules, and I will place a comma between the date and the year. So in this first section, I have October 4th, 1957, but I don't have to place a comma after the year because it's the end of the sentence and there's already a period. So you guys go ahead and pause the video, and you are going to go and do the rest of these. All right, so your video was paused, and I know you did the rest of those, and you guys are just working so hard, and you're super excited to move on here with our next comma rule. So I almost got rid of the paper, and that would have been bad because I can't give you the notes if I don't have the notes to give you. All right, so comma rule is to use commas with cities and states / countries. Kind of fits off the page, but that's okay. You will place a comma between the city and state or country. If the city and state or country are in the middle of the sentence, then you will place a comma after the state or country. So our example here, we have, of the 7 wonders, only the pyramids in Giza, Egypt are still in existence. So we've got a comma here after Giza because that's the sentence, or wow, that's the city. And then we have a comma here because after Egypt, it's in the middle of the sentence, so we have to put that comma there. Then we have, in 2007, New Wonders of the World were selected through an online contest held by a company in Zurich, Switzerland. So we have a comma here after Zurich because it's at the end of the sentence, so we won't have one here, but it's the city and the country. I also just want to point out, not to confuse anyone, but we put our comma here after 2007 because remember, after a date, we put the comma as long as it's in the beginning of the sentence. So let's look at this sentence we have here, and then you guys can doodle this. If you would like to explore the new 7 wonders of the world, you might begin your travels near Beijing, China, along the Mitanyu section of the Great Wall. So Beijing is the city. I'm going to put a comma here. And then China is the country, but it's at the end of the sentence, so I don't have to put a comma after that. Here we have the Great Wall of China starts in Dandong, China, in the east and ends at the Jiayuguan, that word, pass in the west. So I'm going to put a comma here because it is the middle of a sentence, so I put it after the country. Yes, this is correct. I just had to double check myself. So make sure you've got your comma here, pause the video, and then go do the rest. All right, so you've done all those, and we're going to move on to our next comma rule. We are going to go ahead and talk about when you use commas with addresses. This is like when I addressed my grandmother. on a card, not when I like address somebody as and I talk to them. I know it's confusing, but that's English, right? So you will place a comma between each element of the address in a sentence. All right, and then if the sentence continues, separate the last item with a comma. Our example here, she visited Cedar Point Amusement Park located at 1 Cedar Point Drive, Sandusky, Ohio 44870. So here is the first element of my address, so I put a comma. This is the second element of my address, and so I put that comma. We sent a postcard from Six Flags Magic Mountain 26101 Magic Mountain Parkway, Valencia, California 91355 to our neighbors. So I put a comma here because that's my first element. I put a comma here because that's my second element. And then I put a comma here because that is my final element, but it's not the end of a sentence. So I still have these words after, so I have to put this comma. Down here for your do, you're going to add commas to the addresses below. Then you're going to doodle a new park ride for each amusement park. So you're just going to create fun doodles of some neat rides that maybe those places don't have. Like the other ones, we're going to do this first one, and then you'll pause the video and do your own. The address for the Land of the Vikings exhibit at Legoland is 1 Legoland Drive, Carlsbad, California 92008. So 1 Legoland Drive is my first element, so I'll put my comma here. And then Carlsberg is my second element, and then California 92008, and there is a period at the end of that sentence. So pause the video, do these other ones, draw your cool amusement park rides, and I look forward to seeing them. We are on our second to last comma rule now. So this is your comma rule when speaking directly to someone. This is called a direct address, not to be confused with address, which is what we just worked on. So you're going to place a comma after the name, or a person being addressed if it comes at the beginning of a sentence. For example, we have Lisa, comma, we need to leave now. So because Lisa is at the beginning of my sentence, I put that comma here. You are going to place a comma before the name or person being addressed if it comes at the end of a sentence. So our example is here is we need to leave now, comma, Lisa. Finally, you are going to offset the name or person being addressed by commas if it occurs in the middle of a sentence. So for example, we have thank you, comma, Lisa, comma, for listening. So this is an offset. So Lisa's in the middle of my sentence. So I have my sentence start, I put my comma, I put Lisa's name, then I put my comma, and then I say for listening. So let's look at our example here. Let's eat, Alice. If we don't put a comma here, it sounds like we're going to eat Alice, and we are not Jeffrey Dahmer, so we're not going to do that. So you need to put a comma here So that it's let's eat. Alice. I know that you're inviting Alice to eat with you. Now you're going to doodle two versions of the sentence. So up here, we're going to have our Jeffrey Dahmer situation. And then down here, we are going to have like what it actually is supposed to be with your let's eat Alice, like with Alice, not eating Alice. All right, and then your practice examples are down here, and we're going to look at this. So my first sentence is, Mom, I have to leave early from practice. The person I'm addressing in this sentence is Mom, so I'm going to put my comma after Mom. You guys are going to do the rest on your own, and then watch the final comma video, and we are going to continue with our lesson. So go ahead and do that. Pause the video, work on the example. Our final comma rule for today, but not the final one that we're going to do, is comma rule is to use commas in lists. So you are going to place a comma between separate words. And word groups in a simple series of 3 or more items. So let's look at our example. We plan to visit the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre, and Notre Dame while in Paris, France. So we've got this comma after Eiffel Tower, this comma after the Louvre, because we've got a list of 3. There's 3 places that we're going to visit in Paris, France. Then let's look at the next one. The best ways to explore Paris are by walking, riding a bike, or taking a boat tour along the Seine. I can't say that word either, so you guys can't laugh at me too much. I'm not here. All right, so put a comma after walking, a comma after riding a bike, because it is a list of 3 or more. Our example sentence, during our first breakfast in Paris, we had a croissant, toast with jam, strawberries, and juice. So I had my croissant, my toast with jam, then we had strawberries, and then we had juice. So this is a list of 4. It's not jam strawberries like I said 2 seconds ago. It's jam and then strawberries. They're separate items. So make sure that you put your commas in the correct place. Go ahead and work on your sentences. And then what you guys are going to do is you're going to take a picture of each of these do sections, so the parts that you did, and you're going to upload them. So you should upload 5 sections today before you leave this class. And then the final thing that you guys are going to do is your exit ticket for today, which I literally just had and lost. Oh, I found it. Okay. Nobody panic. Which is the traffic light concept. So we went over our pretty generic comma rules today. We'll go more in depth tomorrow, and obviously we'll practice a lot with them. But I want you guys to tell me, what is one concept you found challenging and need help to understand? So which one of these do you think that you're going to have the most difficulty with? Your yellow light is one concept you understand, but you still need some clarification on. So what's one that you're feeling pretty good about, but you might have a question or two? And then the green light is one concept you fully understand and you could look to your neighbor and you could reteach it. So y'all go ahead and you're going to fill this out, upload those pictures, and remember to put the stuff in your blue folder so that you have it with you tomorrow. And I will see you then. Bye.